Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is an awesome honor and privilege, as it is every day, to have you, our international friends, gather around as we talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all sorts of good stuff. And joining me here today is the one and the only Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing today, sir?
John, it's a fine Tuesday, and I'm all here for it. Who knows what's going to happen today? No man can say, John. We can just move forward.
Do me a favor, just I can't talk about enough. Just fill in everybody about what's going on with your little movie Tango Shalom that I know you've worked so hard for on the last couple of years.
Well, it's out into the world. It's going to different festivals. It was playing. I think it's still playing at the Sacramento Festival. It just finished up a run in San Diego. Then it was at the Charlotte, North Carolina Jewish Film Festival. It'll be playing in Chicago. It did win. The Canadians love us, John. We won Best Comedy and Best Actor in the Montreal Independent Film Festival, and we just won Best Independent Film from the Toronto Film Channel. And then the Toronto Film Channel actually played Tango Shalom worldwide for free. Anybody could log in and watch it all day last week, which was kind of neat. And then hopefully it'll, it's the little engine that could. It's interesting, as you know, when you've made your movie, because it's let's throw in the fact that, you make a movie like Movie Trailers, a love story. When you send your project out into the world, it sort of takes on a life of its own. And, people still write in about your film. It's been out a couple months now, but it's available worldwide. And it's funny when you make something. You don't get like a little ding somewhere when somebody watches your movie. So you don't know how many people watch it or where they watched it or how they watched it. But you hear from them when they watched it. It never stops being exciting when someone do you feel that way when someone writes you and says, "Hey, I watched Movie Trailers, I love story"?
No, it's awesome. And I do I get notifications from Amazon and Vimeo whenever somebody gets so you actually buys or rents the movie. I get a little bing, bing, bing on my phone notifying me when people watch it. That's awesome. It's been up for months, but it's always still a great feeling. Anyway, guys, it is also a great feeling having you guys here joining us today. We do have a lot of things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, we're talking about streaming services the other day. Could they at some point implement an annual contract? One of the most beloved comedies in the world right now, Kim's Convenience, just suddenly, mid-season, has the plug pulled on it. This will be the last season. We're going to talk about that little thing. Some Godzilla versus Kong leakage sort of stuff. All that kind of stuff's coming up too. Want to let you guys know, remind you, if you want to get your daily fix of the John Campea Show, but you can't always be in front of your YouTube, a YouTube app or something like that, good news. There is obviously a John Campea Show podcast where you can go and get the audio-only version of the show. Simply go on to any of your podcasting apps of choice and just search for the John Campea Show. You can see it's very highly rated. Thank you guys for all the ratings. Go and subscribe to it on your podcasting app of choice so it is there when you need it. Also, guys, want to let you know that if you want to get a live comment or question in for the second half of the show during the live questions parts, simply use the tip link that's in the description of this video. You can click on it there, or you can enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show if it's reasonable. And of course, you'll be supporting the show at the same time. And all of us here involved with the John Campea Show, thank you guys very, very much for that support. All right, guys. Before we get into our main topics today, let's get into a couple of off the top, shall we? And the first one we're going to start with is this. Now, just the other day, we reviewed Coming to America 2. I love the first Coming to America. The second one did a lot of things right. And I'm glad I watched it, but I was a little bit disappointed with it. I didn't find it to be all that funny, to be honest with you. They did a lot of other things right. I found they didn't make the movie funny enough. Certainly not up to the standards of the brilliance of the first Coming to America. But guess what? I still watched it. I checked it out. I was excited to see it. And it looks like a lot of you guys were excited to see it too, because it's now being reported that Coming to America 2 was the most streamed film in a single weekend during the COVID pandemic, beating out, Rob, films like Disney's Soul, films like Wonder Woman 84, Films like, now we haven't got the information on the latest Disney release, Raya and the Last Dragon, but I don't think it's going to come anywhere close to coming to America too. I mean, so regardless if you're one of the people, and people were pretty divided on this movie, but regardless if you're one of the people that loved it or you didn't like it, you were interested in it because a hell of a lot of people went online to see it. Now, we don't have the exact specific numbers, but they are reporting it as the most streamed movie of the COVID era. Now, Rob, it should be pointed out, that may not be saying much. It's not like we've had a ton of blockbusters come out online streaming in the COVID streaming era, but still, coming to America too, it was obviously captured a lot of people's attention before it came out. The trailers must have done their job. It shows that there was a lot of nostalgia. People remember that original one fondly, and we all rushed to watch it. Rob, I know you weren't exactly thrilled with the movie, kind of same as me, but are you surprised to hear it garnered so many eyeballs on it for its first weekend?
No, you know why? Because I think people want to laugh. Yeah. You know, I think, whereas like I loved Soul, but you know, Soul was sort of a heartfelt movie that a lot of rumination about life in that film, whereas Coming to America is the follow-up to a beloved Eddie Murphy comedy, a comedy that I've always loved. And I think people were they just wanted to laugh, man. And, you know, I was thinking, we're looking at movies like every movie has to change our lives. Like every single movie has to be amazing. But sometimes, like I was thinking about this yesterday. I enjoyed the time I was watching Coming to America too. And I think we've gotten to a point in our culture where it's like, we expect every one of these movies we're waiting for to, I don't know, change our lives. But sometimes a movie's just a movie. And while Coming to America 2 might not have been the greatest movie in the world, there were things in it that made me chuckle, and I enjoyed my time watching it. And I think for that, it has value.
Yeah, listen, I was saying the exact same thing. Like, I think it checked a lot of the boxes for what a decent movie should be. They captured the right nostalgia factor. They had a good message to it. There were a couple of warm moments, but again, as a comedy, the number one thing you got to do is make people laugh. And I can't speak for other people, but for me, I had maybe two really good laughing moments. And, you know, one was the "this is bullshit" line. That made me laugh a lot. And I think the other one was the Wesley Snipes intro. That one made me laugh pretty good when he says, "the man who was the inspiration for Mufasa." I'm like, okay, that's hilarious. That was really good. Anyway, a lot of people did go to check it out. Guys, question is, are you one of the many people who went to go check it out? Again, I'm sure this record will be broken, and it's really not saying all that much, but still, it's an interesting thing when it beats out the likes of Soul and Wonder Woman 84 and things like that. That's pretty noteworthy. Question is, what do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there. Okay, guys. With that down, let's get into one more off the top then, shall we? And this next one is pretty interesting. Rob, we are, of course, now in the early stages of what is known as the streaming wars. The streaming wars have begun. And they have begun, and they're off and running right now with so many different streaming services. We talked a lot about this yesterday, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But one of the ones that, of course, launched was Peacock. The stupidest, most asinine, idiotic name for a streaming service they could possibly, like CBS All Access was a better name than Peacock. And that name was dumb. But it's actually a pretty solid little streaming service when you actually look at all the content that's on there. I've been watching it a lot, watching a lot of The Office and watching a lot of Parks and Rec. My wife's been watching Saved by the Bell, you know, both the old and the new. And so it's pretty good there. Of course, last year was their first year out of the gate. And, well, it's now being reported that Peacock lost nearly $1 billion in their first year. Now, this is, of course, coming us from Variety, saying that they took an estimated $914 million of losses. Now, that's counting the fact that they only had about $115 million in revenue. That means they had roughly an operating expense of $1 billion, maybe $1.2 billion, made $100-something million in revenue, which left them with a loss of $914. Now, in the grand scale of things, losing $1 billion as a big streaming service is not so bad. Netflix alone, I think it was 2020, 2019, lost like $12-13 billion in that 1 year. Now, of course, they had hundreds or not hundreds, sorry. They had like tens of billions of dollars in revenue. But, between their licensing fees and just their operating costs and production costs, they ended up losing a lot of money. It's okay. They know their long game. They're going to make up for that. It's not a big deal. Disney Plus lost a lot of money on their first year. They knew that. They knew that going into this, that they were going to lose a lot of money in their first year. So really, all things considered, Peacock only losing $1 billion is a little surprising to me. I thought it would have been more. But Rob, then I kind of figured it out. They really haven't gone heavy into production, particularly in 2020, of original programming, which will add up the costs a lot too. And so really they've just been putting on library content right now. So they've probably been managing their expenses a little bit, but still, it's something when you see that it's lost $1 billion. Rob, what do you think about this report of them losing over $900 million in the first year? And have you gotten into watching the Peacock streaming channel? Have you added it to your device yet at all? What do you think?
Well, first, no, I have not taken the plunge on Peacock. I until they're going to do a Han series where Han comes back from the Fast and Furious franchise and solves crimes on a worldwide level, I don't think I'm going to subscribe. I don't know. I don't get it, John. Peacock, I think, again, like HBO Max, why not, if you're teamed up with Universal, why not call it Universal Premiere or Universal Infinite?
Oh, something. I agree. It's such a bad name.
I get what Peacock's trying to do there, the Peacock network, but I'm like, sometimes you're too clever for your own good. It's a dumb name for a streaming service. But again, why sign up? I think the only thing a streaming service has, sure, you could say Disney Plus has Pixar, has Star Wars, has Marvel, has the entire Disney catalog of timeless classics. You've got all of those things. So you've got the family audience wrapped up. There's always going to be somebody there. With Netflix, you've got worldwide reach. You've got all kinds of varied programming from around the planet. And it's already been established. People know that. Why do I subscribe to Peacock? What reason do I have to do it? Is there shatteringly original programming that I have to see? I feel even as a consumer that wants to be fairly up on my media consumption, John, is there a reason? Have I missed something about Peacock that I need to see?
It depends on what it is you're looking for. Like, for example, like I said, they really haven't ramped up their original programming yet.
Right.
So, there's that. For me, I initially signed up for Peacock for one reason.
Uh-oh.
Battlestar Galactica. That's why I signed up for it. Anne had never watched Battlestar Galactica, the Ronald D. Moore series. It is, for those of you who watch the show, it is my number one all-time favorite show by quite a bit, actually. So that's why I initially signed up for it. But then once, The Office made the move there, and then Parks and Rec, which I can watch Parks and Rec, an episode of Parks and Rec every day for the rest of my life. I really can. I just love the show that much. And then, of course, when Saved by the Bell. So for us as a household, there were numerous reasons. But if you're not a big Battlestar Galactica fan, if you don't really care all that much, and you're not a big fan of The Office, which I know you've never even watched, Rob, we got to correct that one of these days, or Parks and Rec or whatever, then right now, no, there's not a lot of reason to sign up for it until they get their original programming game really up and running. But again, it all depends on what you have an affinity for when it comes to programming.
I think that's really what it is. That's what people come back and forth to. And I do think the name is a real problem. It's the first rule of marketing. You got to have good branding, especially in this day and age. And I think, like we've talked about, HBO Max's problem is, how is HBO Max different than HBO Go or HBO Plus or HBO whatever you're going to call it? People don't know the difference. And I think it's problematic in this day and age. I'm sure Peacock will eventually get there, but I don't know if you've got the entire Universal Studios library at your disposal and their entire rich legacy, century-old legacy. I don't know why they're leaning into these strange names and not going Warner Brothers, Universal, Paramount. These are names people recognize from American history. Why wouldn't you sign up for those rather than Peacock?
I mean,
what, am I going to the zoo?
Like, I get it. It is the what do you call it? It is the mascot of the network. But really, is that a good enough reason? Just because it's the mascot of the network?
But that's just NBC.
Right, yeah.
It's not, you're tied to one of the great movie studios that has such an American legacy all the way back to the 1920s even. And, everyone knows everything from like the Universal monsters to, I mean, hell, earthquakes, a Universal movie, the airport movies are Universal films. It's like,
Yeah, it is what it is.
Actually, I don't think airport movies are Universal. They might be Paramount. I could be wrong about that, but whatever.
But again, they need to do something over there. And by the way, Carissa Singleton sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Carissa. Appreciate that. All right, guys, question is for you. What do you think about this? Like, I think it's pretty obvious. Like, that's actually not a bad outing. A $1 billion loss compared to some of the other streamers, but they need to get their stuff up and going. Only $100+ million in revenue. They need to correct that. What do you guys think? Jump down into the comments section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, guys. One more off the top, and that is this. Now, I'm going to warn you. You've probably already heard about this, so maybe it's not a spoiler, but just to be safe, I will say there might be a bit of a spoiler here for Godzilla vs. Kong, okay? Just letting you know as we start this story.
Oh, no.
There may be a little bit of a spoiler regarding Godzilla vs. Kong, although it's regarding things that's already been talked about for a couple of months, but still, I just want to give you that warning, okay? Got it? Warning given. Here we go. All right, so we know one of the movies that I am ludicrously excited about because of that trailer, which is the best damn trailer I've seen since the Logan trailer, Rob, is Warner Brothers' Godzilla vs. Kong. I didn't care about this movie before, Rob. Didn't care because I didn't like King of the Monsters. But then the trailer came out for Godzilla vs. Kong. I lost my freaking shit. I lost my mind. And I cannot wait to watch this movie. Now, it looked like in this movie, in the trailer, there seemed to be a very quick shot from the subway, people running down subway stairs looking up. It seemed like you could see Mechagodzilla. And there was talks a few months ago that Mechagodzilla was going to be appearing. Well, now it seems like toy pictures have released for the Mechagodzilla, who will ultimately be the doomsday to Godzilla and Kong, Superman and Batman. Fighting each other. Oh no, there's Mechagodzilla. High five. Danger zone. Let's go fight that thing together. And we all knew that's the way it was going to go. So it looks like...
why did you say that name?
Mothra, why did you say that name? Save Mothra. So anyway, here it is. Kaiju News Outlet released the picture of the Mechagodzilla. And apparently on the packaging, it says, a robotic apex predator with unstoppable powers of laser destruction, Mechagodzilla was created in secret to destroy Godzilla and end the reign of the monsters. Reenact your favorite scenes from Godzilla vs. King Kong, from your favorite scene from the Godzilla vs. King Kong movie, the 15 centimeter tall, blah, 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 blah. So anyway, what we all pretty much knew, Rob, what we all pretty much figured out, it seems like now, listen, we've been led astray before by toy reveals that didn't actually have anything to do, but it seems like this is pretty on the nose and what we were expecting anyway. So I don't know, Rob, looks like they've revealed that Mechagodzilla is going to be in this thing. Not a surprise to most of us, but what do you think about this? And what do you think of the toy?
Well, first of all, it looks pretty cool, actually. I love the idea that they're like, this is an apex predator that's designed to defend against the monsters. Like, how's that going to work out for you, buddy? Like, you really think that you got a chance in hell? I mean, look at that rickety thing. That thing is going down, John. It's going down probably in the first round, probably in the first 15 seconds. It'll get thrown through a few buildings, maybe get a few good shots off. But that thing, no chance. That is no Rocky III Clubber Lang fight there. That guy's going down.
And what do you think about the fact that, all right, the toy's been revealed, but remember about 6 months ago, there was that toy fair where the first images of Mechagodzilla got released anyway, and then people noticed it. That was a shot in the trailer and everything. But do you think this is a big deal that the information, do you expect now that it's kind of becoming public that Mechagodzilla might be included in one of the next trailers, perhaps, if there is another trailer?
I think probably, if they do another final trailer drop, because it's not like, everyone's like, I wonder if there's going to be a third monster that they team up and fight together. I mean, if this is Godzilla tradition, all the way. It goes all the way back to the beginnings of the franchise. Well, not quite the beginnings of the franchise, but the 60s. I'm there for it, man. Look, I heard that the fight around the aircraft carrier, somebody reported it and said the fight was like 18 minutes long. I'm like, heck yeah, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we want to see. Massive monster destruction. And if that's what they give us, I'm there for it. I'm salivating, waiting with bated breath.
I agree. All right, question is, guys, what do you think about this? It seems to be confirmed what we all kind of suspected anyway. Godzilla and Kong will probably end up teaming up to fight Mechagodzilla. What do you guys think about it? Jump on down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that stuff down out of the way, let's now move on to our main topic, shall we? And how do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them. If you've come across a big topic, story, or issue anytime 24/7 that you think should be a main topic here on the show, head on over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, you're going to see a form. Fill it out with your topic or question. It's totally free. Hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your submission featured as a main topic here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's get into main topic number 1, shall we? And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Aiden Dixon. And Aiden Dixon writes, it was reported earlier today that the amazing Canadian series Kim's Convenience was abruptly brought to an end after 5 seasons. It was in the top 10 of Netflix worldwide, as a matter of fact. It was noted with the statement from their official Twitter account that the show is ending due to the producers moving on to other projects. My heart goes out to the cast and crew. This must be devastating for everybody involved. What are your thoughts? Thank you, and bring on the filthy. All right, thanks a lot for sending this in, man. And yeah, listen, Kim's Convenience, if you've been watching the show, you guys know Kim's Convenience is a show I have been talking about a lot. It is one that I was very late to the party on. I think they were already in season 4 by the time somebody convinced me to try watching it, and I got caught up on it on Netflix. Absolutely phenomenal, ridiculously glorious show. Absolutely wonderful. And it has caught on like crazy worldwide. Now, right now, they are in the middle of season 5. So they're right in the middle of season 5 right now. And they just announced that this will be it. The show had been picked up and greenlit for 6 seasons. For a 6th season. It had already been picked up, greenlight, everything by the network, ready to go for a 6th season. And now here we are, halfway through season 5, and out of nowhere, there comes the announcement this is going to be the final season. They're not going to do it again. And the reason they're not going to do it again is a little unusual, Rob. It's not the network canceling it. It's just that the creators of the show decided, we're going to go do other things now. Halfway through the season, they up and decided, we're going to go do other things now. This comes to us from Deadline, who writes, authenticity, and this is coming from a CBC, that's the Canadian network, a CBC representative who, of course, is the network that produced Kim's Convenience, writes, authenticity of storytelling is at the center of the success of Kim's Convenience. At the end of production on season 5, our 2 co-creators confirmed that they were moving on to other projects, the producer said in a statement. Given their departure from the series, we have come to the difficult conclusion that we cannot deliver another season of the same heart and quality that has made the show so special. Kim's Convenience has meant so much to our cast, writers, crew, and audience around the world. So there you have that. So this, again, is a very unusual situation. Normally, again, when one of these shows gets canceled, it's Netflix decided not to renew, or CBS decided not to renew. No, this show, which is only gaining popularity around the world right now, Rob, it keeps getting more and more popular as more and more people are discovering how brilliant this show is. And they got greenlit for season 6. And after season 5 was wrapped, as they're halfway through airing season 5, the producers, the creators of the show decided, we're going to walk. Peace out, everybody. We're out. And it didn't just catch us by surprise. Apparently, it caught the entire cast and crew by surprise, and some of them aren't happy.
No, I wouldn't think they would be.
They are not happy, Rob. As a matter of fact, Simu Liu, who plays Zheng in the show, he, of course, is about to be a big Marvel superstar. He's going to play Shang-Chi in the upcoming Marvel film, but he's one of the stars of the show. He actually hopped on Twitter to send out a message to everybody, and it's kind of revealing that how surprised they were by this. He wrote this: for reasons that I am sure we'll get into someday, we must prematurely bid farewell to Kim's Convenience. I am heartbroken. I know what you've been thinking. Let me read this at length, guys, because it's actually quite kind of telling. I know what you're thinking, and to be clear, I was fully expecting to come back for our 6th season. In fact, I was probably more excited than I've ever been. In many ways, I thought Jung, that's his character, I thought Jung would be liberated this coming season, and he would finally get to show some of the growth I had begged our writers for year after year. It pains me that we will never see the full reconciliation between Jung and Appa. Appa is his dad. It pains me that we will never see Jung figure out what he wants to do with his life. Most of all, it pains me that we will never see the Kims all together as a family, bidding farewell to the bodega that has defined their immigrant journey. I was all in this year. I wanted to be in every single episode. I wanted to participate in the writer's room. I wanted to direct an episode, and this is the big ending. I feel we deserved better. I feel that you, our most amazing fans, deserved better. So this comes from Simu Liu, who's, of course, one of the stars of Kim's Convenience. Absolutely fantastic show, which is no more. Now, listen, Rob, I often talk about how, artists and creators, they don't owe the audience anything. I mean, like they do their work. The audience consumes it. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. And the audience deserves their best effort. But in this situation, in this specific situation, I feel like if you are a fan of Kim's Convenience, you do have a right to feel a little wronged here. Like, I get it if a network that's got to pay for it decides, hey, we're losing money on this. This is business. I get it. If they have to cancel one of my favorite shows, it sucks, but I get it. But this is a situation where the show creators have had this outpouring of support from around the world for this show. And there was a commitment of 6 seasons, of another season to come. And the audience fully believed that, hey, we're already in the midst of season 5. We're certainly going to get a season 6. For the showrunners to say, you know what? Nah, we're done. And like the cast of the show, the other producers on the show, the writers of the show, everybody's been pouring everything into it, setting it up for the 6th season to just go with no warning. Like no worries. After they wrap season 5, when everybody was expecting, okay, we'll be back in a couple of months to shoot season 6, they just go, by the way, guys, peace, we're out. It clearly caught some of the cast very much the wrong way. Like, I don't know if you could sense the frustration in Simu's tweet message there. He's clearly very frustrated. I think I, as a fan, am very frustrated. I got to imagine the CBC, which made Schitt's Creek, and that's done, and now Kim's Convenience is magically done. I'm sure they've got to be frustrated, and I'm not trying to begrudge anybody wanting to follow new opportunities, but this is the show that gave you any opportunities you had. If you want to tell them, listen, we're going to give it one more season and then we're out, that's fair enough. But at the end of production of the current season, when it's already been agreed there's going to be another one, to then basically say we're out, I find that unprofessional. I find that a little bit frustrating. And listen, I say that with an immense amount of gratitude in my heart for what these people created, because I have so enjoyed watching this show. It really does reflect the Canadian experience. It really does. And it's so warm and funny, and I will always be grateful. But I'm not going to lie, Rob, right now, I'm really frustrated to hear about this. The cast is clearly very frustrated to hear about this. And just basically a really, really shocking move that even the creators of the show wouldn't want to finish this thing out strong and just open themselves up for better opportunities. The popularity of the show has just continued to grow, Rob, around the world. I don't know. It seems short-sighted to me. You hear about something like this. Can you recall another show that, didn't suddenly die at the hands of the network or anything? Just the creators just decided last second with no warning to pull the plug? I don't know. What do you think about this? Dude,
I find this to be one of the more baffling decisions I've ever heard about. Your star is about to be the star of a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Well, one of your stars, one of your co-stars. From a business standpoint, this doesn't make any sense to me, because it's not like it's a network not wanting to move forward or renegotiate contracts. This contract was already in place, and having a 6th season raises the value of the entire series. Whatever medium you're going to exploit it in, whatever streaming service, you've got more value there. And why would you not, to have a network guarantee that they're going to broadcast your show from a television business standpoint, this is a baffling turn of events. And also, I think, first of all, it's incredibly disrespectful to people. Don't understand that getting a new season of a television show is an incredible benefit to all of the cast and crew, not just the actors, but the entire crew that makes that show possible. The camera department, the grip and electric department, the catering department, hair and makeup, all those people are employed. And another season means they're employed further. That means people can make house payments. That make sure people can pay their union dues or pay for college or whatever for their kids. And to do this to your crew that's been there for you for the previous 5 seasons and not explain it everybody was making plans based on the fact that they got another season. That means people are out of work. You put your devoted crew out of work for no reason at all. If you don't want to be showrunners, hire some other showrunners. It's not like producers haven't done that throughout the entire history of television. I find this decision incredibly baffling.
I agree.
And it's not what you do to your cast and crew.
I agree. And this is the other thing too. I got no problem if before season 5 started, if they said, hey guys, listen, we've got some new opportunities popping up for us, so we're going to move on take. So season 5 is going to be our last season. All right. Then now your cast and crew have 6 months to prepare for the fact that, okay, in 6 months, we're going to be done on this. We can start preparing for other things. You let the writers write a conclusion to the show. You let the audience prepare that what we're about to watch will be the final season. Instead, they waited till season 5 was done. Season 6 was greenlit. Other people have turned down other jobs because they know they're coming back for season 6. And then all of a sudden, the creators of the show said, we're pulling the plug. Anyway, I'm frustrated. The cast is clearly frustrated. I don't know. What about you guys? Maybe a lot of you guys have never watched Kim's Convenience, which, by the way, you're only robbing yourselves if you haven't. This show is amazing. But if so, what do you guys think about this? Jump down into the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 2, shall we? And our second main topic today gets submitted to us by Mark. And Mark writes, with the amount of and / cost of streaming subscriptions rising, I've seen more and more people adopting the approach of jumping between streaming services to watch their favorite shows, subscribing for a month and then canceling. If the amount of people that do this is substantial, do you believe they might introduce contracts to guarantee a steady income for a 12 to 24 month period, like how cable used to be? All right, that comes to us from Mark. Thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yes, we were just talking about this the other day, about when you look at, and by the way, Extreme Nation sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Extreme Nation. When you look at all of the streaming services that are out there, and you start adding up the cost for all of them, and you understand that all of them got some really good stuff to watch on. It's not like all the good shows are on 1 or 2 streaming platforms. It can get expensive. Rob, it was brought up that some people like to do the thing, okay, we'll watch Mandalorian. When Mandalorian's done, I'll cancel Disney+. Okay, Watchmen is on HBO now. I'll subscribe to HBO for 1 month. When it's done, I'll cancel. And then jumping around. Now, I think a lot of people are too lazy to do that, which is what the streaming networks are counting on, but some people do. Now, Rob, Mark brings up a really interesting question. That is something that I remember you brought up yourself maybe about 6 months to a year ago, which is the question of, could we eventually see these streaming networks become more like a phone plan or a cable plan where it's like, hey, yeah, sign up, but you have a minimum 1-year commitment. Like when you sign up for our great rate of $12 a month, but you have to commit for 1 full year, 12 months, 24 months, whatever. Now, Rob, on yesterday's show, we talked about how we are still just in the beginning of this, and we are in what's called the acquisition phase for these streaming networks, where all they're worried about, they're not even worried about making money right now. They're simply worried about acquiring subscribers. They're just in the acquisition phase right now, and then they'll kind of settle out what their actual real prices are going to be and what their regular flow is going to be. But once we get past this part, Rob, once we get past this acquisition phase, could we be looking at a reality where now that streaming's become the norm, they're not trying to convince you to cut the cable, you've already done that, and now they've got you, could we see these streaming services start to implement an annual contract for their streaming services? What do you think about this?
Oh, I think it's probably an inevitability. Because, having an annual contract is obviously a little bit more, from what I understand. I could be wrong about this. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but knowing if a company knows they're getting a certain annual fee, there's more stability there than a month-to-month plan. And if everybody was locked into an annual fee, they can make better decisions based on people not coming and going. There's a word for it, and I forget what it's called. The people that subscribe and then let go of the service and then resubscribe when something's on they want to watch. So I think it could happen. I think, and it probably will happen. And you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. This might be insane, but what if you decided to sign up annually for a service? What if these services colluded? Let's not call it collusion, but if you sign up for one annual fee from one service, maybe the services could band together and go, we'll give discounts on other services. Or if you sign up for 3 annual memberships at one time, you get a 10% discount on each service or something.
Well, we were talking about that yesterday too, right? Could we eventually somehow see these companies do that? Like maybe, a Peacock and a Hulu and a Crunchyroll or whatever, or which I've just recently got acquired, but come together and say, hey, to get one of these for a year is $100, but for $240 you can have all 3, and then they divvy it up or something like that.
Disney's doing that, with what is it, Hulu and ESPN?
ESPN Plus. Of course, they all own all 3 of those, but they already give that kind of a discount.
Yeah, they're already doing that. And I have to say, for the entertainment that you're getting, I mean, I know you as a sports fan, having all of those things together at a reduced price is very appealing. With knowing how many Star Wars shows and Marvel shows you want to keep Disney around, but I like Hulu and I like, ESPN would be fun to have too.
And here's the thing, once it becomes the norm, there's not going to be much we're going to be able to do about it. Like, because once Disney Plus says, okay, now instead of $8 a month, which we know that price is, that in a couple of years, that's going to sit around the $15 mark. That's just where it's heading. But like, say it's at $10 a month. Okay, for a year, instead of paying $120, you're going to pay $110, but you got to commit for the full year. You got to pay $110 or, whatever per month. It's coming. I really do. I think you're absolutely right, Rob. I think this is absolutely coming, and we might as well get used to the idea that it is coming. Now, of course, the bottom line for me then, Rob, is that when they do something like this, does it still represent good value? And like, if I have to commit to $100 for the year, are you kidding me? That is still really good value. If HBO Max, it maintains their quality and all that kind of stuff, if I got to pay, $130 for the year, but I got to commit for the full year and everything like that, or $150, $160. Guess what? When you consider the amount of programming I'm going to watch and the amount of hours I'm going to be spending with that app, it's still good value. So to me, the question isn't really about whether they go to a 1-year contract, because I believe in the next 4 years, that's where they're all going to be. But the question really is, does that proposition still represent good value? And if they keep the prices within reason, it still does. I don't know. Question is, guys, what do you think about all this? Do you think it's inevitable that these streaming services will go the way of cable and cell phone service and say you got to sign up for a year-long commitment? Do you think maybe some will and some won't? Does that really bother you? Does it bother you a lot? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. And by the way, sends in a super chat badge. Sent in a super chat badge. Thank you for that. Sends in a super chat badge. Very clever there. All right, guys. With that down, let's move on to main topic number 3. And our third main topic today gets submitted to us by Tyler Durden, who's fresh off his stint at the Fight Club, who writes in, after WandaVision finished, I started to think about what other releases Marvel has this year, and I realized that they literally have 10 releases in 2021 alone with Disney Plus shows and movies. I love Marvel with all my heart, and I know I will watch anything they put out, but what about the normal audience? Do you think Marvel fatigue will hit, or are they just too good and beloved at this point for that to happen anytime soon? All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, WandaVision's now done. And we know Falcon and Winter Soldier's coming up imminently, but it's not just Falcon and Winter Soldier. And it's not just Black Widow after that. And it's not just Loki after that. When you count WandaVision, Marvel is scheduled right now to have 10 IPs come out this year alone. Rob, I still remember a day. I still remember doing an episode of Movie Talk with John Schnepp. And we realized that when you took into account a Fox X-Men movie, a DC movie was coming out, and like 2 Marvel movies, we were like, oh my God, there's like 5 comic book movies coming out this year. Holy crap. Like when you considered we just lost our minds. We're talking in 1 year, 10 things just from one studio. Let's go and take a look at this. First of all, we got just for Marvel's movie lineups. Let's look at this. Just Marvel movies alone. They have Black Widow coming May 7th. We have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings coming on, I believe that's July 9th. That's coming. Let's see if I can get this a little bit wider. There we go. On July 9th. We've got Eternals coming on November 5th, 2021. And then we've got Spider-Man No Way Home coming on December 17th. That's just the theatrical movies. When we go over to Disney Plus, now, of course, we just finished WandaVision, which was January. We've got Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming March 19th. Then we've got Loki on June 11th. Then the What If series. I don't really count the What If series, but it is a Marvel thing, and so it's there. It's going to be cute, but that's coming out in the summer of 2021. Then the more nebulously dated Hawkeye is coming out sometime in 2021, and Ms. Marvel is supposed to come out sometime in 2021. Now, listen, any of these could move. These things could get moved sometime into 2022, maybe. But for our purposes right now, Rob, let's just stick on the assumption that this is what we've got right now, that they are going to stick to this, and this is what we have. 10 properties. 10 properties. Now, I am the one who is always saying, I've heard people talking about comic book movie fatigue is going to set in every year for the last 8 years. And every year for the last 8 years, those have been wrong. But I got to say, if there ever was going to be comic book content fatigue, this could be the year to do it. And it's not just because of Marvel, because on top of Marvel, you've got all the CW stuff. You've got all of the DC stuff that's going to be included in that and what have you. I mean, there's other television stuff as well. There's going to be a glut of comic book content this year, but let's specifically talk about Marvel. Marvel never originally intended to have 10 IPs come out in the same year, but that's COVID, and we knew this was going to happen. We talked about this in mid-2020, that we're going to see in 2021 a whole logjam of things. That's what they're moving. Now, Rob, I still stick with the whole idea that people don't get fatigued of entertainment from the abundance of it. They get fatigued at entertainment when the quality starts to slip, or they stop being fresh, or they stop finding ways to innovate and be different. If WandaVision is any indication, Marvel's just getting started on keeping things fresh and being innovative and mixing up their genre and things like that. I think DC has some very intriguing things on the horizon, depending on which rumors you believe about the Flash movie and things like that. I think there's some very interesting things coming down the pipe from DC. I know Sony is doing some different things. I personally loved Venom. I can't wait to see Morbius, and I'm very excited about Venom 2, even when it does eventually move. So I guess the answer is, Rob, could people get fatigued on so much MCU in 1 year? Maybe, but the deciding factor isn't going to be how much there is. The deciding factor is going to be, can Kevin Feige and his team continue to come up with ways to mix it up, keep it fresh, keep it feeling unique and different every time out, telling compelling stories, giving us compelling characters. If they can keep that up, then we can watch this all day. We can watch it all day. I mean, Rob, in a given year, I probably watch 40 or more UFC events every year. I don't get tired of it because it's always entertaining, engaging, and I always love watching it. If Marvel can do that, it'll be fine. But even I have to admit, that seems like a really big number. Rob, as you review all these numbers and all these programmings coming out, number one, what are the ones that are standing out to you the most? But do you think Marvel has put itself in a little bit of position where people could develop MCU fatigue? How do you see it?
Well, I think it's a really good question. And ultimately, I know I can only go by my own experience as a comic book reader. I, for decades, immersed myself in the Marvel universe via comic books. And I loved it. You know, it got to the point after like 30 years, I admit I got a little tired of superhero stories because I'd read a lot. But it took 30 years. And the one thing about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and I think we'll get a much better idea of it, is that if they give us shows like WandaVision and then go on and give us a Falcon and Winter Soldier, and Falcon and Winter Soldier feels a lot different than WandaVision does. Sure, it's ultimately about superheroes and Avengers and the MCU, but it's like, you know, you can watch cop shows and lawyer shows on TV and not get tired of them. They have a built-in sort of appeal because of the kinds of stories that they're telling. I think, and WandaVision proved that we're getting totally A-list produced programming, lush, rich programming that would be at home on the big screen. And if Marvel continues that level of quality and continues the level of engagement they seem to be getting from their universe, I mean, I just look, John, at their film slate. You go from Black Widow to Shang-Chi to the Eternals to Spider-Man 3. And to me, I know that Eternals, based on Kirby's work, original work, knowing it takes place, it spans over 1,000 years, is very different from what I expect to be a badass kung fu movie in martial arts film in Shang-Chi. Then we're going to get more of the political thriller action adventure out of Black Widow. And then we bring it on home to Spider-Man. Even though those are all superheroic characters, the feel of these movies could be very different.
Yes.
I mean, having Chloe Zhao, who might win the Oscar for Nomadland as a director, and Nomadland winning, just to what that movie's even about, to know that Feige had the foresight to tap her based on her pitch to come in and do a movie like Eternals makes me really excited that once again, Feige is looking out of the box to find new and interesting talents to come in and bring this stuff to life. The fact that they hired Moorhead and oh God, why am I drawing a blank on his last name? The guys that made Endless and Spring and Synchronic to do Moon Knight. I'm like, wow, you know, we're getting a cinematic a universe that's a complete, utter franchise owned by Disney. But if the creative juices can be continually pumped into those franchises by thinking out of the box, by getting creators you don't normally expect to come in and do this, and then you have the fact that it's a collective, cohesive universe, well, that could be unique in the annals of entertainment history. And so far, I'm there for it, man. And I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier will point the direction. We're getting an animated series from them in What If this summer. And John, Moon Knight. I can't wait. I'm excited. I'm fired up, man. Fired up.
Let me ask you this. Fired up as you are. We know Eternals, we know Moon Knight, but as you look down this list, and I'm looking at here again, we'll put WandaVision aside because it's done. Falcon, Winter Soldier, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, Miss Marvel, Black Widow, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Eternal, Spider-Man No Way From Home. Which of these ones are really piquing your interest right now? I know Eternals, but which ones of those remaining ones are really piquing your interest right now?
Well, look, I've always thought that Black Widow looks good, but dude, I love Doug Mensch and Paul Gulacy's Shang-Chi comics.
Right.
And I thought they were a great creative team in the 70s. You know, they got the omnibus stuff out, so you can check out that stuff. My man, Tony Leung, one of my favorite actors, a Chinese actor that's appeared in everything from Lust, Caution to John Woo's Hard Boiled. They got him playing, I guess he's playing the Mandarin. Hurt me. That's all I needed to hear, man. I'm in. And Simu Liu, obviously, again, a casting choice coming in from Kim's Convenience. He played a bit role in The Expanse. Kevin Feige saw something in him. They've been casting the Marvel movies impeccably well. And I am really excited to see a new actor, a breakout actor. I'm expecting a lot from his performance. And so Shang-Chi, man, I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. It's something I didn't think I would see happen, and it's bracketed by Black Widow and the Eternals. I mean, what's not to love?
It is crazy to think about, Rob. All this stuff that we were just looking at is all this year. This year
it's
alone.
Crazy, dude.
It is absolutely bonkers.
And then what about Loki with the Time Variance Authority? I'm like, are you kidding me? You know what, John? I can't help but think about the late great John Schnepp.
Oh God.
I mean, even he would have been blown away by the latter half of 2021.
Oh, I
mean,
know.
Can you imagine how excited he would have been by all this?
Dude, you know, there oftentimes when news like stuff like this comes about, our first thoughts is usually, how much Schnepp would have loved this. He would have just lost his damn mind for stuff like this.
He would not have believed they finally got around to making a Shang-Chi movie.
No.
He would have been like,
or Eternals.
Or Eternals especially, yeah.
It's just so bonkers when you really think about it. And again, we are all very short-sighted people. But just think back, not 20 years ago, just think back 5 years ago.
Dude.
And trying to say, in 2021, we're going to have 10 MCU things, not 10 combined Fox, Sony, Disney, Warner Brothers. No. 10 MCU things alone, plus all the other stuff. Plus all the other stuff coming from these other studios too.
You know who's not short-sighted, John?
Kevin Feige?
Kevin Feige, Louis Esposito, and Victoria Alonso. Yep. They're sitting on top of their little Disney mountain over there, just like,
yeah, look at this. So we got, and again, I know I said a few times, let's not lose sight. Sony's got some exciting stuff coming.
Yeah.
DC and Warner Brothers has got some exciting stuff coming. This is all on top of it, but whew.
But think about it. If you include Sony, you've got Spider-Man, Morbius, and Venom, There Will Be Carnage as well, which are Marvel adjacent.
Yeah.
So and then you got Love and Thunder is shooting, Doctor Strange is shooting. You know,
a lot of stuff coming for the following years as well.
The Hawkeye thing. I mean, She-Hulk, bruh.
Yeah, I know. It's a lot. They are not slowing down. By the way, iconic reactions and Kevin Feige send in super chat badges in the live chat. Thank you for that, guys. The question is for you. It's an impressive lineup, yes, but what do you think about the overall question? Is there too much of a good thing? Like, could we be getting so much Marvel content this year that are we just going to peter out from it? Are we going to get that Marvel fatigue? I think as long as they keep the quality high, we'll still be on board, but maybe I'm wrong. What do you guys think about this? Jump into the comment section below and leave us your thoughts. Okay, guys. With that down, let's now move into and start taking your live comments and questions, shall we? And once again, if you want to send in a live comment or question to get it on either this show or one of the companion videos, whatever, simply use the tip link in the description below once again, or you can enter it in manually at www.streamelements.com/movieblogtv/tip. You'll be getting your comment or question on the show, and of course, you'll be supporting the show at the same time, and we all thank you very much for that. All right, let's get into it here. We're going to start getting caught up here with, I love this name, Super Duper Uber Nuber, who writes, "Hey, John and Co. I just want to say that thanks to the community for all the Kingdom recommendations." Of course, that's the Frank Grillo show, an MMA show that I got into for a bit. For all the Kingdom recommendations, I almost tapped out at the end of season 1 like you did, but season 2 was a definite improvement, and I just finished season 3 and ended up having a very powerful and emotional ending. Now it's time to watch Jonathan Tucker in Debris. He plays Jay in Kingdom, and Frank Grillo in Boss Fight. Love the show and keep up the great work. All right, thanks a lot for that, Super Duper Uber Nuber. And by the way, Jonathan Tucker in Kingdom is fantastic in that, and he is ripped as hell. I look at him like, oh yeah, this dude's an MMA fighter. Like, he's just ripped as hell. So is Frank Grillo. Everybody's been telling me to watch Debris. I haven't watched it yet. I know Rob's watched the first episode. I'm excited to watch Debris. I did watch Boss Fight. Rob, I don't know if you had a chance to watch Boss Fight yet, but I watched Boss Fight. It is, as an action film, top-notch. Really fun, kind of ridiculous. Exactly what they were going for. Kind of fun, over-the-top, ridiculous action film. The story, the story is pretty weak, to be honest with you. The story's pretty weak, but you know what? Their main goal of this movie was targeting it for some fun, bonkers action. Frank Grillo, he's getting older, but I'll tell you what, I will sign up for a Frank Grillo action film any day of the week after watching him in Boss Fight. So, yeah, kudos to him. And I cannot wait to watch this Debris series. I hear from a lot of you guys it's actually really good. And so we will be checking that out soon. All right, next up. Ralph's Boner writes, hey, John, so Pietro was just a random dude named Ralph Bonner. I feel like this simultaneously is the best and worst joke in the MCU. Not quite as fun as the Mandarin reveal in Iron Man 3. How did Agatha give him super speed, though? I don't get it. Well, there was the magical totem he had around his neck. That was clearly a spell that she had cast. It gave him the abilities. It's probably what she used to continuously keep him under mind control and to give him the abilities inside the hex to mimic super speed. Again, Rob, I am still at the conclusion of the opinion. It is the single greatest thing they did in this show. I still think it was a stroke of genius casting Evan Peters as this. It was the greatest misdirect of all time. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I know a lot of people are very upset by it. Whatever. I thought it was absolutely genius. But yeah, I remember thinking, I knowing this isn't actually Quicksilver, how does he have super speed? To me, it was just like, well, if you're in the hex, anything can happen. And obviously Agatha was the one who gave him the powers. But I know it's going to be a very divisive thing through the years. Where do you fall in this, Rob? I'm just curious. Was it brilliant, or did Kevin Feige do us dirty with it? I thought it was brilliant. What did you think?
Well, I think it in a way it was both, which makes it kind of brilliant. I mean, look, as a purist and a canonista and somebody that was really looking forward to the explanation of Quicksilver within the MCU being the actual Quicksilver from the X-Men universe, I can't help but say I'm disappointed. But on the other hand, the fact that they did it, it certainly got people talking. It got people crazy. And I think that if you look back at what kind of a show WandaVision turned out to be, it kind of was pretty perfect. Because after all, magic, especially chaos magic or any kind of magic or whatever the hell was really happening, I think it was a perfect example of that. So it was very meta, but it also worked within the show, even though it was maddening to me. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the fact that it was maddening to me was kind of the point, which makes it pretty brilliant.
I agree. All right, next up, we've got Gerard Leon, who writes, hey, John, based on the end credit scene for WandaVision, would you say you were right or wrong about the twins? Because they technically didn't make it out, but then the voices at the end might go against that. Also, do you think the cabin is Wundagore? Thanks. I don't know. I think it was very reminiscent of the end of the Incredible Hulk movie with Ed Norton. I think obviously Wanda, it ends with her having to be on the run and in hiding and things like that and learning new powers. Here's the interesting thing. So I said all along that I thought the kids were not going to make it out, and they didn't. They got wiped out of existence. But there's that little thing at the end where you hear the twins' voices. Go back and watch. I believe if you go back and watch the episode where Agatha had the kids, and you hear where Wanda is still in one place and she hears the kids going, Mom, help. It's the exact same audio file. It's the exact same audio. So it did a couple things. One, it told us that Wanda was thinking about them. Two, it was, Rob, to me, it was a clear indication from the studio, from Marvel, from Feige, that, oh yeah, Wanda's number one priority right now is finding a way to bring her kids back, to recreate her kids, bring them back, whatever. Again, par for the course with Wanda. Everything's got to be about her. Everything's a very selfish thing, but still, that's where they're going. And Rob, my new theory is going to be that quest for her to get the kids back is probably what's going to cause all the problems and begin what will be the narrative of Doctor Strange 2 Multiverse of Madness. I think this is going to be similar to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, where Kingpin lost his son and wife and decided, I'm willing to rip open other realities and put the space-time continuum and all the dimensions at risk and cause maybe catastrophe because I need to go and get my son and my wife back. I think it's going to be not exact, but I think something similar to that with Wanda. It's going to cause a lot of problems, her quest to do that, and Doctor Strange will then get involved. I don't know. What do you think about all that wild theories?
You know what? I think you're probably close to close to that. I mean, clearly we saw at the end of WandaVision that there is information and power being wielded that is going to lead to things that can't be good.
Yeah.
So I think that someone's going to have to come in and save us. That someone is going to be Doctor Strange, maybe Mordo, even though Mordo's bent on destroying sorcerers. I maybe they're going to have to team up to help Real. I don't know, but it's not going to be good, and I think that's exactly what's going to happen. It's the triggering event.
All right, next up, Gerard also writes in, "Hey, John, first off, I want to say that I finally finished your documentary. It was great. Thank you so much for that, Gerard. I appreciate that, man. But the reason I'm writing is I'm wondering if someone else has already said this, but was Wanda learning with astral projection like in Doctor Strange at the end there? I don't think so. I think it was a basic illusion. At least this is how I interpret it. I could be wrong, Rob, but my basic interpretation as I'm watching as a fan was she was casting a basic illusion that in case there's any spy satellites anywhere, anybody finds the thing, it looks like just a girl hanging out at a cabin, do nothing. Really, she's inside trying to study and learn the Darkhold to truly become the Scarlet Witch. How did you interpret that ending?
I thought that's exactly what she's doing. I mean, she's got this book that is the pathway to, I guess, all knowing, all wielding of chaos magic. And it's, I think she's for the very first time, she knows who she is. And now it's day one. She's got to learn what does all of it mean. Now that she knows what she probably never knew. They never really got into it, but the way she was presented in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, she was always sort of didn't really understand her powers. And then she was being exploited by Hydra or whatever, and von Strucker, and now she's finally broken free. She's on her own, and she's going to live life on her own terms. And where those powers are going to lead her remains to be seen. But I think we've got somebody who is motivated and one of the most dangerous people, literally, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it ain't going to be good.
All right. Next up, we got John Stevens who tips in like $20. Thank you, John, for supporting the channel on that level. Thank you, John and Rob. I spend my days working in my nursery and garden maintenance business in Australia. Listening to you guys excites and brightens my day. I very much respect both your hard work and ethics. Bring on the filthy. Have a better day. Oh, thank you so much, man. Dude, it's always so encouraging when people just want to write and say, hey, just want to say thank you and support the show. That is so nice of you to do. Thank you so much for that, John Stevens. It's funny that your nursery and gardening based business, because it's something Ann and I obviously just bought a house and we're desperately looking for a good company to come and take care of our landscaping because we don't know what we're doing. But anyway, good on you, John. You're in a great business, and thank you again for writing that in, man. Next up, DJ Dan writes, if you were to tell me 2 months ago that all of our Evan Peters theories led to the ultimate reveal of Ralph Bonner, I would have told you that you were watching the wrong WandaVision on the wrong website, LOL. Great finale, though. Love your show, John. I still don't understand why anybody actually thought he was Quicksilver. I still don't get it. I thought it was clear as day. Kevin Feige said, I'm not doing anything X-Men really until, my 5-year plan is up, blah, blah, blah. But whatever, a lot of people did buy into it, and I guess that was the point. They wanted to create the misdirection. They wanted to get people talking. I thought it was the most brilliant stunt casting of all time. But I love the fact that they didn't do your theory, yet you love the show anyway. Rob, they didn't do my theory. My theory was this show's going to end on a Shakespearean-level tragedy. Wanda's going to be more broken than ever before, and they didn't. But I still really loved it, and I still really enjoyed it, even they didn't do what I wanted them to do. So anyway, good on you for that, DJ. Okay, next up, Dan Y. writes, John and company, just wanted to say that the care and thoughtfulness you put into each Super Chat response is unmatched. We feel your passion. You're enjoyable to listen to. These theories are fun, and you made this WandaVision experience so great for us. Thanks. Oh, man, thank you so much. Honestly, it was my pleasure. Rob and I have talked about the fact that, many times that being able to exchange and get excited and have disagreements on theories and everything, it just gets us more invested in the movies and shows that we watch. It gets us more wholeheartedly into it, and it makes us look forward to them even more. And it has been a great pleasure for me. I know just me as a fan watching stuff, you guys have made the experience better for me. And I hope that you guys are experiencing that same kind of effect that I am. And anyway, thank you for writing that in, Dan. That was really thoughtful. I appreciate that, man. All right, Scott Brown writes, in Falcon and Winter Soldier, it'll be interesting to see how they have Falcon fight with the shield. In the trailer, you see him throw it, but there's no way he could catch it. It would shatter his arm into 1,000 pieces because he's not a super soldier. Rob, that is really a big question for me moving forward. About, you still at the end of the day have to understand that Sam is just a dude. I mean, he's a very skilled dude. He's got a really cool piece of tech that he didn't build, but he's got a really cool piece of tech. That's the big difference between him and like a Tony Stark. Tony Stark actually built all of his stuff. Falcon had to break into a military complex to steal somebody else's technology that he's just really good at flying it. But like, unlike Captain America, who could take a punch from Thanos and get back up, who could get thrown through, like in the beginning of Civil War, he can get thrown out of a window down 5 stories and get up. He can lift a car if he needs to. Sam is just a dude. One punch from Thanos and all of his internal organs turn into soup and all of his bones shatter into whatever. He gets thrown through one wall, all of his bones turn to dust. And I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how they do that, especially when you got him teamed up with Bucky, who is enhanced and all that kind of stuff. So it will be interesting to see. How do you think they're going to approach this, and what are you interested to see, and what are you looking for in this show?
Well, I think, as you point out, this is a big question to be asking, and I think that either he's got to have something that helps him throw that shield, or there's going to be some extra added oomph or something. I don't know. But it is definitely a question, whereas, of course, we know the Winter Soldier is capable of doing something like that. So it's something they're going to have to answer right away. So I think we're going to find out. I don't know what the answer is yet. We'll know in 2 weeks, I suppose. But this show looks good to me. Like I was saying yesterday, the idea that they're doing some mismatched buddy cop riff on that genre, the 48 hours, running scared, Lethal Weapon vibe, and in a military globe-trotting setting, man, I'm so there for it. I'm so excited for it, to be honest. With that Tom Clancy vibe, political thriller, I'm assuming they're going to hark back to the Winter Soldier vibe, which I loved because that was one of my favorite Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. So even if I hope they don't just have him throw the shield and it's supposed to just work the same way it does with Cap. That would be lame. But I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to explain how it's going to happen. And I'm excited, John. I really am excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Dude, it's my most anticipated MCU thing coming. It still is. So I'm very excited about it. All right, next
looks
up.
So good.
Looks really good so far. Ralph Boner writes, Ralph here. For the record, I was told Seth MacFarlane was directing this little superhero shindig. Turns out he only got to direct one scene. I was promised I wouldn't be starring as myself, but alas, here we are. Really thought my performance was elevating. His performance was elevating too. To me, one of the most pivotal scenes in WandaVision still ended up being not the most pivotal scene, but one of them was that Halloween episode when Wanda and Pietro are just sitting down, or Fietro, we're sitting down and talking about the experiences as kids, which she couldn't remember because he was just making them up. And the whole thing about, how'd you do the kids thing? You just keep them locked in the room. I just thought that whole sequence was really great. And the way he acted like the sitcom brother, I thought was great. I thought Evan Peters did a really good job in it. So hopefully we get to see him more moving forward. All right. Tony Riaz writes, that battle between Wanda and Agatha was underwhelming for me. I've seen it 100 times. Honestly, it felt like an episode of Dragon Ball Z. My favorite part of the show was the interaction between Wanda and Vision at the end, a real tear-jerker. I thought the battle between Agatha and Wanda was really good. I mean, for a couple of witches, I thought it was really good. To me, though, my favorite scene, Rob, in that episode, the final scene between Wanda and Vision was very touching and very moving, especially how then the hex washes over and she's back on the empty lot. That was really well done visually. It looked really good. But to me, it is still the philosophical clash, if you will, the exchange between the two visions as they start talking about the ship. Neither are the ship, and both are the ship. I mean, it was like, that to me, I was loving their fight. The fight was great. But once they started waxing philosophical with each other, I'm like, holy crap, this is awesome. I was digging it. What was your favorite moment of the finale for you?
I like the discussion the Visions were having.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
You know, I thought that was fascinating. It could have been this knockdown, drag out thing, but it was something more. And I like that.
I like that a lot too, like a hell of a lot. And by the way, Ordinary People sends in a super chat badge in the live chat. Thank you, Ordinary People. All right, next up, T. Bruds writes, "Hey John, I've been listening since 2012. Thank you so much for hanging around for that long, man. WandaVision has made Wanda my new favorite MCU character. Do you think Wanda has truly accepted her loss of Vision, or do you think there's going to be even more collateral damage from her pain moving forward? Thanks." Well, as we were just talking about, T. Bruds, I think she's come to peace with the loss of Vision. Although I think that might get revisited again once she sees White Vision again. Because, Rob, I was talking about this earlier. There's this beautiful moment in the comics. Well, it's beautiful and tragic all at the same time. There's this great moment in the comics where White Vision is talking to their kids and basically explaining to them, he says, look, I know I look like your dad. I am made from the structure of things that he was, and I have access to all your dad's memories, but make no mistake, I am not your father, nor am I your mother's husband. I look like him, I have his memories and all that kind of stuff, but make no mistake, I'm not him. I'm somebody new now. And that seemed to be what they were going for in WandaVision with the new Vision as he gained access to the former Vision's memories and all that kind of stuff. And I think they could revisit that whole thing of loss once Wanda comes into contact with him again. But it seems like we were addressing earlier, Rob, it seems like now the focus on, now she's bummed out she lost her kids that she knew for all of 3 days. But she's lost her kids, and now she's focused on bringing her kids back. And yes, T. Bruds, I do think this is going to end up with her trying to, I think Rob and I both agree, it's going to end up with her trying to open up a multiverse thing to try to get her kids back. And then that could cause problems. Maybe we're right. Maybe we're wrong.
I have something, John.
What's that?
A viewer sent in a message. Eric Casino said, while you and I were talking about Kim's Convenience just now, 36 minutes ago, Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of your beloved homeland, tweeted out, "Thank you for 5 seasons of heart and humor and for always being a source of unity and positivity. Okay, see you."
Okay, see you.
So clearly Justin watches this show.
Every Canadian watches this show.
He had to have been watching us, John, the Canadian Prime Minister, and had his own response to the demise of Kim's Convenience.
Man, all I can hope is that, like, CBC, I really do respect CBC. CBC looked at the situation. Now, normally I think, okay, if the showrunners leave, get new showrunners. These are the actual creators of the show. And that was kind of based on their own young childhoods and things like that. And so it's hard to replace that. And CBC said, listen, this is an automatic hit for us, but we don't think we can make it of the quality level people have come to expect from it without these guys who's kind of based on them. And therefore, even though we know it's an automatic hit for us, we're pulling the plug. I respect that, but I cannot help but, oh God, Netflix, come on, Netflix, step in, buy this show up and say, we'll buy the rights from you, CBC, and we'll scour the globe to find the rights. We'll find Canadian, Korean immigrants who are in the entertainment industry to pick up and run this show. We will find a way to make it happen and keep going forward. So one can dream, man. One can dream. Okay, let's keep moving on with the questions here. Next up, we got Char who writes, "Hey, John, newbie here, but love your show. Good to have you here, Char. Thanks for writing in. Any thoughts on Agatha coming back? I thought she was a great character addition to the MCU. Definitely appreciated the finale more after the second viewing. Lots of questions still, but overall really enjoyed." Rob, my theory on Agatha, I don't know if you've been on when I've said this, but I think I've always thought before the finale that Agatha is a character that could totally be your Q of Star Trek The Next Generation. You could have her pop up whenever you need a certain plot device or whatever to cause mischief and mayhem or something like that. She could just be this really cool, maybe once every 2 or 3 years, if you just need a quick cameo for something, have her pop in. Anyway, the way it ended, I love the way it ended. I love the way that she says to Wanda, you're going to need me because you may have all this power, but you don't have knowledge and you don't know how to access. You're going to need me. And Wanda just coldly says, I'll know where to find you if I do. And she locks her there. That totally leaves the door open that we can see more. I thought that ending clearly told us we have not seen the last of Agatha Harkness. I don't know, Rob, can you see them using her further in the future?
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, I think Catherine Hahn's performance was so like John Delancey's Q. I think that's a great analogy. It was just so much fun to watch. She was just, you loved everything she did, especially when she finally broke out and you knew that she is Agatha Harkness. I think that, again, as long as she's written well and has interesting things to add, I think we're definitely going to see her again. And I like your idea that she'll pop up when needed. And I also like in the comics, she becomes sort of a mentor to Wanda. And I think what's really interesting is that she clearly wants Wanda's power and wants what Wanda has, but Wanda doesn't know what she has and doesn't even know her power. And that's where Agatha comes in. And I think their relationship will definitely come into play in the future because it has to.
All right. Next up, we've got Sloth is Legend writes, hey, John, I'm having a hard time understanding your Hayward take. I don't know why you are. I've explained it about 1,000 times. He is unquestionably a villain. He is unquestionably not. He's an asshole, but he's not a villain. It literally ends with him being arrested. Yeah, because he broke rules. He was an asshole. He did things wrong. He broke the Sokovian Accords. He absolutely did. So did Captain America, but he broke the Sokovian Accords. He did not simply want to save the town. I think he did. I think everything in the show said that was his primary thing. There is no proof he knew the kids were fake for sure. Yes, he did. He watched the show, so he knew, like you and I did, that the kids were fake, and still shot at them because he knew they were fake. By the way, Rob, I don't understand how anybody out there are like so completely offended at the idea that Hayward would shoot at these artificial kids. They're not real. But they're perfectly fine. Guess what? Okay, Hayward tried to shoot these fake kids. Wanda did kill the fake kids. So everybody's like, oh, what a sweet moment, Wanda and her children. Oh, boo, Hayward tried. Hayward tried to shoot the fake kids. Wanda did kill the fake kids. So I just, there's this massive disconnect there. But anyway, at the end of the day, to me, Hayward was not out trying to take over the world. He wasn't trying to commit genocide. He wasn't in league with, like, a lot of people theorize that he was actually working with Mephisto, or a lot of people thought he was Nightmare or things like that. He wasn't working with Nightmare. He wasn't working with Mephisto. He wasn't going for world domination. He was just an incompetent dick and who did things the wrong way. And at the end of the day, that was him. But he wasn't. Just like I say about Wanda, Wanda's not the villain. Somebody asked me this, Rob. They said, do you think Wanda could be the antagonist of Doctor Strange too? And I said, that's the perfect word. I think Wanda will be an antagonist, but she's not going to be a villain per se. I don't think Wanda's going evil. Like, I don't think she's going to go pure evil. I want to destroy the world, Wanda Maximoff. But I do think she's going to be the antagonist. And I do think she's going to be in that role. And that's kind of how I saw Hayward in this. An antagonist? Absolutely. A villain in the Marvel MCU sense, I still don't see it. But that's just me. That's just me. All right, next up. Orange Hand writes, John, the third Potter movie changed the Hogwarts layout and landscape. That didn't decanonize the previous two films. Trek has retconned costumes, props, and alien makeup as well, yet you think a different looking book invalidates the entire show. Come on, Orange Hand, come on. If you think those are similar circumstances, you're way out of touch. Those are not similar circumstances. Kevin Feige, Rob, I don't know what you think about this. We've never talked. I think by showing that Darkhold, which was clearly a completely different book than what they had in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which Kevin Feige has never acknowledged. He's never acknowledged that show. And I was there at the Phase 3 announcements at the El Capitan Theater when he got on stage, Kevin Feige, and one of my fellow audience members asked, how does Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he basically made it clear, I have nothing to do with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's not my movie universe. They're doing that stuff over there, which really pissed off Ike Perlmutter at the time, who was still his boss, and really pissed him off. He's not his boss anymore. And to me, it's very, very clear that by showing that book, and that it was that was in fact the Darkhold. That was obviously a completely different book than the one that had in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This was Kevin Feige clearly announcing that show is not canon, not to my MCU.
Yep.
It's not to my MCU. I don't know, Rob, your take on that whole thing.
I completely agree. And that was their rift. Perlmutter was trying to make moves, and he was piggybacking off the success of what Feige had built, starting with Iron Man 1 and the Avengers and S.H.I.E.L.D. He was trying to move that into the TV realm, but he didn't want Feige to have oversight of it. And that was wrong. That was a strategically bad move, and I don't think that Feige necessarily would have even done an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show if he had any say in it. And I think it probably was something that really stuck in his craw because it should have, because after this carefully considered thing, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was all over the place. Let's just say that. Not that it was terrible, but it was all over the place. Yeah. And Feige, it probably irked him to no end.
Yep. All right. Next up, we've got Tim writes, I think it's the Darkhold starting to mess with Wanda in the post-credits. Maybe. It could be, the Darkhold could be a little bit like the Ring of Power, Sauron's Ring of Power that starts to mess with people. They could go that way. Though I still think she's going to be an anti-hero type. Too many theories sounded like something DC would do to me. But DC does some good stuff, man. The Luke level reveal to me was the costume. Great show. Well, I think, Rob, that has come up a lot about, where was the Luke Skywalker? Remember, an interviewer asked Elizabeth Olsen, hey, another Disney Plus show, Mandalorian, just had this Luke Skywalker reveal. Could we get something like that in WandaVision? And she said, yeah. And she was probably thinking about the Evan Peters thing, or she might have been thinking about White Vision or whatever. But we took it, me, you guys, we all took that and we spun it into something that it could have been, but it didn't turn out being that thing. But that was us. That was me and that was you. Like, we're the ones who blew that up a lot. And, yeah. And you know what? We should continue to blow things like that up. We should continue to theorize and speculate and have fun. Whatever. Just be prepared that if it doesn't turn out to be the things we speculated, we got to be okay with that. But anyway, that's my take on it. Anyway, Parker writes, there are a few occasions where a movie/TV show makes me cry, but the final scene where Wanda says goodbye to her kids, they walk into the other room, Vision says it is unlucky to say goodbye in the dark and turns the lights on just to see Wanda one last time. Dude, fake Vision or not, that was a beautiful moment. I thought that was a really, really cool moment. And I especially loved how they really showed the self-awareness Vision had when he says to her, basically, one more thing. What am I? Like, I'm not actually Vision, so what am I? And her explanation to that, the hex washes over, she's back in the empty plot. I thought it was really good, Rob. What were your thoughts on that final scene?
I love that too. And again, I keep going back to Star Trek The Next Generation, because there was a lot of the conversation Vision had with the other Vision, that whole at the end. There's an episode in the first season of Next Generation, which always gets, people don't like the first season, but there's an episode called The Big Goodbye, where they've created Dixon Hill as this detective in like the 30s or 40s in America. And there's Lawrence Tierney plays a holographic simulation of a crime boss. And he realizes that he's part of a holodeck that isn't really there. And he walks out onto the deck of the Enterprise, discovering the Enterprise exists. And he's like, listen, it's a whole world to conquer, and he's all ready to, and then he starts to disintegrate. And it reminded me of that, because he's not, the Cyrus Redblock character was just a hologram. He was never real, but he didn't know that. He thought he was real, and it was the same kind of thing. It really reminded me of that Next Generation episode. And it was a great moment because it's like an existential moment where you're asking yourself, well, yeah, what is real? And that Vision knew for the time that he existed in that hex, well, he was real. But if he's not really real, everything that he thought and felt while he was in that hex, does that mean that wasn't real either? It's like, he didn't really say this, but he knew it was real. And in hearing, he intellectually understands, okay, I'm not really real, but what does that mean? Because I'm here, I can feel, and yet I loved it. I loved it. All
right, let's move on. Next up, Timothy Blue Eyes writes, hey, John, Do you think Evan Peters' character could be the person of interest Jimmy Woo was like? Remember, it wasn't a person of interest. It was somebody in witness protection. That's what Jimmy Woo was initially looking into. I am thinking so and hope he sticks around. Congrats on the house and thank you for all you do for this community. Love watching every day. Well, thank you so much, Timothy Blue Eyes. Listen, no, I don't think he was. Rob, I said from the beginning that everybody had a lot of theories about, who was going to be the witness protection person. And everybody thought it was going to be this big main thing. And I said, you remember, I said, I bet you they're never even going to mention the witness protection person again. Because it's not important who the person in witness protection is. The person in witness protection was a small little plot device that gave us, as the audience, the reason why Jimmy Woo and the FBI came to Westview in the first place. They had somebody in witness protection that they can't get a hold of. That's it. It was nobody important. It wasn't significant. And as I thought, they never even mentioned him again. Now, I'm saying, as I knew from the beginning a number of times, there are plenty of theories I had about WandaVision that were wrong. Not the least of which was getting that big Shakespearean ending or the parents in the commercials. I've had lots wrong. But yeah, I thought from the beginning about the witness protection person that they'll never even mention them again. So personally, I don't think he was that witness protection person. That's my guess. The one thing, Rob, I will say that maybe suggests that he could have been that is it would explain why SOAR didn't instantly have a dossier on who that, like when they saw the new Fietro, like why they didn't know, wait a minute, that's town citizen, Ralph Bonner of German descent. That's a German name, by the way. Bonner is a German name. But they didn't. So maybe him being a witness in some dude in witness protection, maybe that would explain that. But other than that, I don't really think there's any connection. What did you think about that?
I didn't think that there was any connection. I didn't think so. No.
All right. Next up. We've got Patrick Conway writes, John, if Clint can go on a 5-year slaughter spree and Bruce go on a few temper tantrums in Johannesburg, Harlem, helicarrier, a university killing countless innocents, and still be Avengers, Wanda can be one just for giving a town bad nightmares in her grief. I really don't think so. When you're talking about your comparison of Hawkeye was, number one, during the blip when the world was in chaos. Number two, he was, basically hunting down criminals and killing criminals. That shouldn't be a big difference, the fact that they were bad guys. But let's face it, in the real world, especially in the comic book world, that totally changes the way we see that thing. Everybody understands the nature of the Hulk. And so that changes a lot of the stuff there too, that the Hulk is what the Hulk is. Bruce developed some kind of control over it now. So that kind of changes things. The Wanda situation, I would argue, is fundamentally different. Rob, are we saying there is no coming back from what Wanda did? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying there's never any coming back. It's not like she committed genocide. It's not like she walked in and slaughtered a town of people. Right. That's not what happened. But you also can't ignore that she went into a town, hijacked the lives of of 3,000 people, held them against their will, all to be used in puppets in her game. And you can make the argument, but John, she didn't do it on purpose. Well, maybe at first, like when she let out the scream and she created the whole thing, maybe at first, but the show showed us without question and without refute, a number of times throughout the show that Wanda was aware of what she was doing. Like just that one conversation, Rob, we were just talking about between her and Pietro in the Halloween episode, where she's like, "So you don't think what I'm doing is wrong?" Like the show made us aware that she was very aware of what she was doing. Maybe she wasn't keenly aware that all the people she was holding captive against their will were in pain. Maybe she wasn't aware of that, but it doesn't change the fact that she was aware that she had taken this town. She was holding the people against their will, and she was using them as puppets in her own selfish fantasy. There has to be a price with that. There has to be an accountability for that. And, but does that mean there's no ever coming back from that? I don't think so. I don't know, Rob, how do you see that?
I see what happened in WandaVision. Like everyone wants to hold Wanda. I think she wasn't. In a way, I think of it as an act of nature. It was an uncontrollable. She didn't really know exactly what she was doing. She wasn't even aware. To call it temporary insanity, call it what you want. But I just think she wasn't in charge of all of her faculties. She didn't really know. Like once it happened, she's like, this seems normal. Wanda's nuts. She goes nuts in the comics, and she was not in her right mind. She wasn't thinking. She had no one there to bring her back. There was no Hawkeye to bring her back. There was no Doctor Strange to help her, and she got consumed. She comes back from the blip after Vision had just been killed, and everything that happened to her since she joined the Avengers and Sokovia and Ultron and all that. I think she was nuts. And we do, in our justice system allows for that. Is it right? No. But she is crazy, and she's going to go crazier still.
I think you're right. All right. Last one we'll do with Rob still here because we're keeping him a bit over time. Comes to us from G from Philly, who writes, "Hey, John, I've been watching since the AMC Movie Talk days. Thank you for joining us since then, G. I appreciate that. Thanks for being a huge inspiration. Do you know what would have been a crazy ending? When Wanda is saying bye to the kids and the hex is closing in, if she just stopped and said no. Also, I noticed that both Visions, when brought back to life, looked at their hands. Minor detail. Don't know if that inferred they are one and the same. Keep up the great work, man. Huge fan from Philly." Well, let's start. First of all, thank you so much, G, for writing that in. Rob, somebody else wrote into me and said, when Vision came online, the White Vision, the first thing he did was look for his wedding ring. And I said at the time, no, I think you'll find when in most movies and TV shows, when somebody awakes from something or whatever, that's a physical thing of saying, where am I? What am I doing? Like, I don't think there was anything particular special about Vision doing that. We've seen others do that as well. So I personally don't attach any significance. I mean, I don't know that. But for me, I don't attach any significance to that because I think I've seen it done a lot with a lot of other characters and a lot of other things. I don't know, Rob, do you think there's anything significant to the fact that both versions of Visions looked at their hands as they came into being?
No, I think that's just an affectation. Like, we've seen it in so many movies. Like, if you're turning into a ghost or disintegrating, you just look at your hands because they're the part of your body that you can put in front of your eyes. It's reflexive. So I think that's all it was. And I think it mirrors the fact that both Visions did that would make sense because that's, when you're gazing at something happening to your body, you put your hands out in awe and wonder. And from a visual standpoint, it's an easy cue to convey to an audience. So that's why I think they did that.
All right, Rob, thanks so much for being here, man, and bringing your perspective on things. Congratulations again on everything you got going on with Dota and Tango Shalom, of course. But in the meantime, until you're back again, where can people follow you and your adventures online?
You can find me on Instagram at Robert Meyer Burnett. Find me on Twitter at BurnettRM, or find me on my own YouTube channel, network, and my show, Robservations.
All right, dude. Thanks a lot for being here, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow, man. Have a good one.
It's a great show, man. Thanks. This was a lot of fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, the one and the only, the great Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. We still got some time here, guys, so let's keep right on rolling through your live questions, shall we? We're going to pick things up here with Lee Crow, who writes, "Yo, John, if I remember correctly, didn't Feige say that the shows wouldn't be required watching for the movies? If that's true, then we shouldn't expect any MCU world-changing events in the shows, like the big things that were theorized for WandaVision. That's not necessarily true. Remember, by Kevin Feige, and this is the most brilliant thing, I've stated this before, and I will say it again, the most brilliant thing that Kevin Feige has done with the MCU is made it so nothing else in the MCU is pre-required. Like nobody, if you have never watched an MCU thing before, you are welcome to jump on board at any time, and you won't be completely lost. That doesn't mean they can't do big world-changing things in a show or in a movie. It simply means that in an upcoming show or movie, if that big world-changing event was relevant, it'll be mentioned and explained. It'll be mentioned and explained so that the new viewer doesn't feel lost coming along for the ride, and then they can go back and watch that stuff later. It is one of the most brilliant things that he has done with the MCU, and one that I'm sure they will continue doing moving forward. All right, next up, We've got Casey McNatt who writes, "Hey, John, did you hear that they moved up A Quiet Place 2? We talked about this on the show the other day, actually. From September to Memorial Day weekend. Do you think the deal with Paramount Plus had something to do with this? What are your thoughts?" I think what had more to do with it was the fact that it seems now like things are coming back online. We are seeing the continuing drop of infection rates and a big, huge increase in the vaccination numbers that are going up. And I think this, and news that the theaters are about to open in New York. We're about to have theaters open in California again. So I think a lot of this has to do with, I think them moving up had a lot more to do with that than anything else. But the whole thing about what they're doing with Paramount Plusing, that could also be a factor as well. Absolutely. So that's kind of my guess right now. All right. Thanks for sending that in, man. Next up, we got Real Spiel writes, "John, during WandaVision, hold a second. There we go. Okay. Dear John, during WandaVision, I watched some clickbait channels in the morning before yours. I'm glad I watched yours after because it tempered my expectations and allowed me not to be so disappointed when the leaks never came true. Appreciate you." All right. Thanks a lot for that, man. And yes, there are, I mean, look, I don't spend my time here, talking clickbait or talking about other YouTube channels. I don't talk about other YouTube channels. I'm not a bottom feeder like that. I don't talk about other YouTube channels on my channel, but I will say this. There's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong about being excited and having theories and spinning the theories. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And if there are other YouTube channels that did that, I honestly don't think there's anything wrong with that. It's up to you and me. It's up to you and me that we should know better, that we can engage in all that, even the wildest of speculations. We just got to know to put our expectations at the door when it comes time to come in and watch a movie. You want to hear all these supposed, and I know there were 1,000 fake leaks but John, I saw it on Reddit. I know, right? You saw it, it must have been gospel. I know there were so many fake leaks and all that. I get that. But that doesn't mean, in other YouTube channels' defense, it doesn't mean it's not fun to talk about them and all that kind of stuff. But we as individual audience members need to know to take all that stuff and leave it at the door when it comes time to watch the movie or TV show. That then becomes on us, right? If some YouTube channel read on Reddit that, I read that Doctor Strange comes in at the end and does this, it's a leak. Okay. Then it's totally cool for them if they want to talk about what they read on Reddit. And it's totally cool for us to watch that video and to develop some theories around that. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fun. But you also got to be able to, you got to take responsibility as an individual viewer to know, okay, but that was a leak from Reddit that anybody could have put that up there. And these theories sound fun, but they may or may not be true. And my theory sounds fun and may or may not be true. So I won't bring those into the movie and show. Totally fair and fun to talk about them, but then leave them at the door when it's time for the show. And that's up for, that's all of our responsibilities to do. That's all of our responsibilities to do. All right, next up. We've got Hayward is a villain. I'm not going to go into that again. Boris writes, "Damn it, John, you were right. Vision and the kids didn't make the cut. I was grinning ear to ear the whole episode when he said, 'I am Vision,' after his forehead glowed yellow. Do you think the Mind Stone power was involved or transferred?" I don't think the Mind Stone was involved or transferred. I don't think it was involved. I think what he was able to do with the powers he had inside the Hex Vision was able to use his simulated Mind Stone powers to unlock those memories that were still buried within that Vision. But I don't think there was, because remember, whatever Wanda created of Vision will not exist outside of the Hex. So he couldn't transfer his essence into that Vision, because then that would cease to be once he transferred outside the Hex, once the Hex was no longer there. So my theory, which could be right or wrong, is that no, I don't think actual Mind Stone power transferred. I don't think that was part of it. Could be wrong, but I don't think that's anything about that. All right, the Hayward thing I'm not getting into again. Wanda Wanda before was already powerful enough to take Thanos out by herself, and she created the whole world for herself in Westview. Now she is the Scarlet Witch, now she is the Scarlet Witch. Is she officially the most powerful Avenger in the MCU? I can't imagine her power now. Well, here's the thing. There are two things to keep in mind. Number one, Agatha mentions you've got all this power, but you don't have knowledge. And I think the implication there was until you have both, you aren't at your full potential, right? So I think once she acquires all the knowledge she needs, she can be more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme. However, there is another character in the MCU that Kevin Feige has said is the most powerful character in the MCU, and that's Captain Marvel. The interesting thing about Captain Marvel and Wanda is both of them basically got the massive infuse of their power from an Infinity Stone. Now, Wanda was already born a witch, but she didn't get the big pop in power until the Mind Stone transferred a bunch of its power into her. Captain Marvel was just a great Air Force pilot until one of the stones transferred a bunch of its power into her. So there is a similarity there between Scarlet Witch in the MCU, Scarlet Witch and Captain Marvel. And I think which one of them is more powerful? Hard to say. But it's hard to dispute that at least once Wanda studies and once Wanda acquires the knowledge of how to access and use the power she has as the Scarlet Witch, it's going to be, I think you still might say Captain Marvel is the more powerful now. I even think Doctor Strange is more powerful than she is right now, but she has that potential. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with it. I'm not sure. All right, next up. No master's rights. Okay, again, I think this is the same person who's just spamming it in under different names, so I'm going to skip it over. John and Rob, I would suggest that one burst of memory that Spectral Vision received would want to make him regain any of his other memories that were being kept from him. I think he flew off back to Sword to take back what was his. What say you? I don't think so. I think once Hex Vision, again, this is just a theory. I think once Hex Vision untapped the memories that were locked inside of Spectral Vision, so he could have access to the memories of, who that body used to be. I think they were all there. So I don't think there was anything else left for him. I think when he took off, he literally just took off to go somewhere to ponder his existence. I mean, I don't know that. I have no idea if that's true or not. I have no idea. But what I took as an audience member, just sitting there watching the show, when he took off and flew away, to me it was very reminiscent of Dr. Manhattan. How Dr. Manhattan just basically went off to chill on the moon and Mars and wherever. I kind of feel like White Vision just decided to take off to go and ponder and think about things and try to figure some things out, because this would all be very new and very confusing to him. So that's my guess. I could be totally wrong, but that's kind of my guess. All right. Russ Papia also writes, John, one question I've been meaning to ask you for weeks. Have you watched Young Rock? I haven't. And are you aware that Randall Park is also on the show? I didn't know Randall Park, who plays Agent Wu in WandaVision. I didn't know Randall Park was in that. So, if so, what do you think? If not, please check it out. I have no desire to watch The Young Rock. Now, don't get me wrong. You guys know I am a big fan of Dwayne The Rock Johnson. But no, I don't even know why that show exists, to be honest with you. John, how can you say that if you haven't watched it yet? Fair enough. But I saw the previews for it. I heard the concept. I am not interested. Maybe the show is the greatest comedy of all time. I don't know if it isn't, because I haven't seen it. But there are so many shows I am interested in that I haven't had time to watch. I'm certainly not going to bump them off the list so I can put on a show that I'm not interested in. So unless I hear from a whole ton of you guys like that is like one of the greatest comedies on TV right now, I'll be honest with you, as big of a fan as I am of Dwayne The Rock Johnson, I really don't have any interest in the young Rock. So anyway, that's just me. All right, next up. Russ also writes, John, coming out of WandaVision, I think that all of these things that we predicted can and will still happen. Well, not Evan Peters, but I still think X-Men will happen in Marvel's The X-Men, and I think Reed Richards will happen in Marvel's Fantastic Four. I mean, yeah, but that goes without saying. I mean, at some point, yes, they are absolutely bringing the X-Men in. We know that. That is a fact. Kevin Feige has said that. And we know Reed Richards is absolutely coming. There is no doubt about that. They've already announced the Fantastic Four movie. So, yes, even though they didn't come in earlier than Kevin Feige said they would, they are absolutely coming, Russ. Of that, you can be 100% sure, my friend. All right, next up. Russ also writes, John, I think the point of Hayward's character was merely to elevate Monica Rambeau or whoever to be the next head of S.W.O.R.D. Could it be that the point of Ralph was also to be who Agatha is now forced to live with in her current state, to be continued? Well, here's the thing. I think they showed that Ralph was not in control. I don't think Ralph was in league with Agatha. I think Agatha put him under a spell and was being controlled by that totem around his neck. And then once Monica ripped that off, he's like, whoa, don't hurt me, don't hurt me, don't hurt me. Like he no longer, I think he was then broke free from her power. Now, the show never explicitly said that, but that was my interpretation. So to me, I don't think Ralph, who is now free from her, is going to be like condemned to live with this witch that had him under her power for so long. Again, I might be interpreting it wrong, but I don't think that Wanda would condemn him to do that. Anyway, next up, Johan Aglin writes, I may have missed it in one of the shows, but I just wanted to say that the music in WandaVision was phenomenal. Songs were funny too, but it did not add as much in my eyes. Oh, you're talking about the songs. Yeah, the score of the show was remarkably good. It was remarkably good, the music, and I did like the song choices personally, and I thought that all kind of elevated it myself. Anyway, thanks for writing that in, Johan. All right, Russ Papia writes, John, so where did Agatha come from? Was she or wasn't she from Westview? I'm under the impression that she wasn't, that she sensed Wanda's level of hex, and that she self-entered the hex in order to find out what was causing all this. Am I right? Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I was speculating earlier in the show. This is another one of the things that I was incorrect about. I was speculating earlier in the show that it was going to turn out that Westview was indeed Salem. But, I mean, I think most people knew that that wasn't true, but I don't know. I kind of speculated it, and I was wrong about that. But yeah, she's not from... I think the show was implying that she herself was indeed not from Westview, but rather instead, like exactly what she said in the show. She sensed the incredible power stuff that was going on there and decided that she was going to go and check it out. So yeah, I think you're right about that. All right, next up. Russ Pappy writes, Feige, hey Loeb, my shows are the real ones. Thanks for watching Simon Kinberg. That was Inside Baseball Talk. I'm not exactly sure what that is a reference to, but it probably makes a lot of sense. All right, we move on now with the Sock writes. If Wanda covered Peter Parker in her chaos magic, would... this deserves a drum shot. If Wanda covered Peter Parker in her chaos magic, would he be chaos walking? Get it? Because Tom Holland is starring in Chaos Walking. Get it? Yeah. All right, Sock, I gave you the drum roll. That's as good as I'm going to do again, man. That's as good as I'm going to do. Okay, next up. We have Boris again, who writes, one of two. Hey, John. Unfortunately, I'm a smoker, never start people, and I'm on my way, second run through Schitt's Creek. I was watching the episode with Alexis's singles event. Isn't that great episode? I love that. And it's right after the climactic moment of the episode after Ted arrives. As I was grinning while remembering this moment, I inhaled and totally forgot about that moron who tries to kiss Twyla. Oh, yeah. I lost my shit laughing, and my lungs were instantly on fire. To anyone who hasn't already, please start watching Schitt's Creek, another Canadian show that last year won all the Emmys. I'm afraid what you heard me say was won a bunch of Emmys. It won all the Emmys. It won all the Emmys. It won Best Actor, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Show, Best Writing, Best Directing. It won everything. And it deserved it. If you guys haven't watched Schitt's Creek, and I was embarrassingly late to the show, they were almost done their final season when I actually started watching the show. It is phenomenal. Like I said, the two best shows on TV the last couple of years, I'm very proud to say were Canadian shows, and I'm very embarrassed to say I was late to the party on both of them, in Kim's Convenience and Schitt's Creek. I think Schitt's Creek is even better than Kim's Convenience, and Kim's Convenience is insanely good. But yeah, Boris, that whole dating, quick date thing, and when the one guy tried to lean into quick kiss Twyla, who, by the way, a lot of people know that Sean Levy and Dan Levy are father and son. Like, they play father and son in the show, but they are actual real life father and son. Everybody knows that. But what a lot of people didn't know is that the girl who plays Twyla, the coffee shop girl, is actually Daniel's sister and Levy's daughter. They're all family there. That whole show was a real family affair, and it played off very, very well. Okay, let's move on now. Daniel writes, "Hey John, when WandaVision finished, I remember something from Spider-Man Far From Home that Peter's teacher, the witches thing, this has been brought up a number of times, that Peter's teacher, Mr. Dell, JB Smoove, kept saying it was witches throughout the movie. Did events of WandaVision spread like news, or was that just a play for jokes?" It was just a play for jokes. It was just a play for jokes. Remember, they played that joke in the movie long before we ever saw WandaVision, right? So it was obviously just a joke. I don't think it had anything to do with Westview. I don't think they allowed the events of Westview to become public knowledge. That's just my guess, but I think it was just a joke. Now, anyway, that's my take on it anyway. Okay, let's see. Forever Working writes, "Hey JC, not sure if this has been mentioned, but I don't think it was just grief, but mostly PTSD Wanda, hence been unaware of her actions. We will not see her go evil in Doctor Strange 2 this time out. We'll see her more aware. Whatever causes the universe to go nuts, we'll start with Spider-Man." I'm not so sure about that. Wanda is another misdirect, but I do think with her power, she may have to do something destructive to save everyone. She is a hero. May sacrifice her as friends have done. Again, Forever Working, I get, and I think you bringing in the PTSD part of it, you're right. We should remember that. I mean, Tony had to deal with PTSD in the events of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. With everything that Wanda's been through, it's not just grief. There's also some post-traumatic stress. I mean, absolutely there is. You're 100% right about that. And look, I get it. Even though WandaVision may have started unintentionally, the fact of the matter is, at certain points in the show, we know that she was aware of what she was doing. Maybe not the full extent of what she was doing, but she, at least in that Halloween episode, made it clear that she was controlling everything in the Hex. That she was holding this town to be her fantasy world, and that included everybody in it. She may not have realized that they were all in a lot of pain because of what she was doing, but she still knew she was hijacking their lives. Now, I agree. Right now, I don't think she becomes an evil villain. Like, I don't know that she becomes a villain in Doctor Strange 2. But the antagonist? Probably. Like, the end of WandaVision still showed us that now she's obsessed with getting those kids back. Kids she knew for all of 3 days. But she's now focused on getting those kids back. And what would she be willing to do now that she has all this power to get them back? And could whatever she does begin the process of ripping open realities, hence Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness? Maybe yes, maybe no. Again, I think antagonist, but not necessarily villain, not evil. We'll see which way they go with it, though. We'll find out. Okay. Next up, Suthius writes, I rewatched the missing person scene. I think the person was indeed Ralph. Jimmy said in the scene, "This morning it looks like he flew the coop." That was around the same time that Wanda had set up the Hex, and Agatha came to town and took over his house. Last episode showed that no one can hear in or out of the house when Agatha took it over. Ralph could have been imprisoned in his room until she needed him. Agatha could have used her witchery to make his known associates and relatives forget about him. If Jimmy is from the West Coast, then it stands to reason that Ralph is as well. Hence the headshot that we see of Ralph. Perhaps he was an aspiring actor or wanted to be involved in the acting industry, which we know is predominantly on the West Coast. Well, it's also very dominant in New York. Like, it's also dominant there too. I would say this. First of all, Agatha only came after the hex was set up, right? Like we saw that in her intro song, but she confirmed that. It's like once she sensed this incredible power going on, she came to town. So she arrived after the hex was set up. Also, it wasn't just Ralph's friends and associates. So what? It wasn't Ralph. It wasn't just the witness protection person's friends and associates. It was everybody in the surrounding area had no idea what Westview was. Remember the police? Even the police were like, there's no such thing as Westview, as they're standing in front of the Welcome to Westview sign, right? So you got to keep that in mind too. So I don't think it was Agatha that did that at all. So is it possible that Ralph could have been the person in witness protection? It's possible. It is possible. I don't think it was, though. And again, like from the beginning, I said, I don't really even think they're ever going to mention the witness protection person again. But could it have been? It could have been Southius. I'm not going to sit here and say it was absolutely impossible. It could have been. So anyway, there's that. We move on now. Southius also writes, whether it's a stunt acting you mean stunt casting? Like Evan Peters or anyone else in a superhero show or movie, we have to keep in mind that the casual general audience probably doesn't give two squirts of piss whether or not Peters was MCU Quicksilver or Fox's Quicksilver. It's true. And listen, that's something that I think a lot of viewers, and me too, sometimes we lose sight of. That just because a lot of us will watch daily shows like mine, or we're constantly in talk bubbles talking about these things, the vast majority of the audience doesn't. And I think a lot of the majority of the audience couldn't care less if Evan Peters ended up being the Fox Quicksilver or not. I think there are a lot of people watching the show who had no idea that Evan Peters even was Quicksilver in the Fox thing. I mean, I'm not sure. But yeah, that is a very, very good thing to bring up, Southius, and something that we, including me, needs to keep in mind, because I forget that sometimes. I let that slip my mind sometimes. All right, Thanos writes, had a great time with the WandaVision finale, but there were two awkward lines. They will never know. Oh, dude, this line drove me crazy. They will never know what you sacrificed, and thanks for choosing me as your mom. First, she got the town into this, so why does she get credit? And second, the kid chose their mother. I think that was more symbolic. Thank you for choosing me to be your mom. I mean, I think that was more, I don't think we should read into that line. It was just a sweet, special, beautiful moment. But I will tell you what, man, that last line that Monica had drove me absolutely crazy. This town, it's as if that Wanda walked by some random town that was in desperate need and suffering, and the only way she could save them is if she sacrificed something of her own. She's the one who did it in the first place. She's the one that put them in their crappy situation. It was her fault. They'll never know what you sacrificed. Oh, shut up. She's the one who did it in the first place. And here's the thing that gets me. I think I get frustrated. There are a bunch of people who get frustrated and whatever at the overly pessimistic view that Hayward had of Wanda, right? Because Hayward, right from the beginning, once he found out what Monica told him about what was happening inside the Hex, Hayward was instantly anti-Wanda. He had a totally pessimistic view because he always said the truth. Everything he said about Wanda was true, other than the fact that she stole that body. But the thing was, he adopted an overly pessimistic view and looked at everything Wanda did in a negative light. I was equally as frustrated with the constantly overly optimistic and positive view that Monica constantly had of Wanda. It's like, Wanda did no wrong. Wanda is just this perfect thing. It's like, she did all this. And you're right, that final line totally frustrated me. It totally, but the thank you for choosing me to be your mother. I just thought that was a sweet line. I mean, maybe I should look at it more critically. I just thought it was a really sweet line. All right. Alan, aka Alan Gaming writes, hey, John, hasn't been mentioned yet that the list of character names in the credits confirms Dottie's real name is Sarah Proctor. In real life, Sarah Proctor was accused of witchcraft during the Salem witch trials. Do you think there's more to Dottie? No, I don't think there's more to Dottie. I think the MCU has infamously always planted little Easter egg things like that. So it seems like let's put it this way. The show clearly gave us no indication that there was anything different about Dottie, particularly by the end. By the end, it was just she's a resident of the town. She has a daughter that she hasn't been able to see because Wanda has kept her from her, intentionally or not. And then that was the end of it. So I don't think there was anything else. I think that was probably just a fun little name that they threw in at the end, but we'll see. All right, the Wakandan Forever writes, wow, John, that hit me. Who are the Avengers? No King T'Challa, no Iron Man. Cap is retired. Hulk is injured. Thor needs Weight Watchers. Vision is gone. Wanda's on the run. Spidey is vilified, although I think they'll correct the Spider-Man thing in the first 5 minutes of Spider-Man 3. Hard times. Which Westview resident seeks revenge and becomes the supervillain? Who is the next Baron Zemo? Like, does Westview I remember, but then again, I'm not sure. And I don't know what you guys think of it. Let me ask you guys in the live chat. Get ready to type in yes or no. Because I'll be honest, I don't know. I have no idea. So I'll pose the question like this. Do you think either Wanda or Sword or somebody pulled a Men in Black on the townspeople of Westview that wiped their memories of the events that just happened there? Do you think either Wanda or the government or somebody pulled a Men in Black and wiped their memories? Or do they still have them? So yes or no? Did their memories get wiped? What do you think? I'm seeing yes, no, no, yes, no, 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 yes for sure, no, yes, yes, no, no, yes, it'll come up, yes, no, yes. Seems pretty split. Like I'm not surprised that you guys are split on this because I'm not really clear on it either. I'm a little bit unclear on that because if she wiped their memories of the events to take all the pain away, I would get that. It would also explain why Agatha can still be left in her own mind prison in that town. Otherwise, the members of the town are going to lynch and kill Agatha when they come across her. Maybe yes, maybe no. But I'm just not sure. I just don't know. So it looks like a lot of you guys aren't sure either. I'm seeing a bunch of you guys saying no, some of you saying yes. Yeah, I don't know. So I think that's something they're going to have to answer as we move forward. So we'll see where they go from there. Last question of the day, guys, comes to us from I Am Only Sleeping, who writes, hey, JC, I know it would never happen with Tarantino as he loves having his movies being R-rated. He is an MCU fanboy. If was to direct an MCU movie for fun, which superhero would you like to see his take on? Huge fan of the movies. Hope you all enjoy the rest of the day. I'll be honest with you, I Am Only Sleeping. I don't do the which X director should direct X movie thing. I don't really do it. Do I think Quentin Tarantino would be a good fit for the MCU? No. Do I think Quentin Tarantino would ever do a movie where he had somebody clearly over him calling the shots in Kevin Feige? No. But if Quentin Tarantino did, he literally could take any character. He could take any character and put his own unique spin on it. And it really doesn't matter which character it is. So I don't think the right approach would be find the character that matches him. I think it would just be understanding that if you were to let Quentin Tarantino run loose in the MCU and say, pick any character you want, I think he literally could take any of them and give it his own unique stance. I think he would stay modestly true to the core nature of the character, but also very much put a Quentin Tarantino spin on it. And he could do that with absolutely any character. But again, I don't think there's any way that would ever happen because he is, I don't think he's a good fit for the MCU. I think in all of his brilliance, I don't think he's a fit for what Kevin Feige's carefully curated MCU universe that he has created and maintained and keeps high quality control over. I don't think he would consider Quentin Tarantino a good fit for that, as fantastic as Quentin Tarantino is. But number two, I don't believe for a second that Tarantino would ever accept a directing gig where he would literally have to answer to somebody else about all of his creative choices. And that's something you got to do if you're going to work in the MCU, because Kevin Feige keeps it very, very, very tight over there, which is part of the reason why it's worked as well as it has. So anyway, that's just my guess. It's a good question, but that's just my guess. All right. Everybody else, from Jonathan, Man of Tomorrow, Mike Y, and on. Do not worry. Kimberly Curran and I are going to be doing a companion video this afternoon, and we should get all caught up on all of the questions, all of the remaining questions that have been sent in. By the end of today, we should be all caught up on those. So make sure you guys come back a little bit later today for our companion video. We'll start where we left off, and hopefully Kimberly and I will get through all of the remaining questions. And that will do it, guys, for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank you, guys, for being here with us and taking time out of your day to spend with us here. Also, thank you to Robert Meyer Burnett for bringing his insight and his glory and goodness to the show. And a special thank you to you guys who sent in all the questions. Number one, because you gave us fun things to talk about. But number two, you also supported the channel while you did it. And all of us here, thank you guys very, very much for your support. Don't forget, guys, the John Campea Show returns again tomorrow. Once again, join us for our companion video with me and Kimberly Curran a little bit later today. Remember, guys, do the four main things. Stay smart, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and please take care of the people around you. That'll do it for us, guys. My name's John Campea, and until next time, my friends, bye-bye.